Should I buy this thing or not? Is it worth it? On today's Wednesday Morning Drive. Hey everybody, Matt Cribbs here, and welcome back to another Wednesday Morning Drive. How are you doing? I've been better. There's been a cold going around our house, and I am in the process of fighting it off. I can tell it's trying to get me sick, but I used a little bit of NyQuil last night and got some sleep, and so far, I don't know. So far, I'm fighting possibly a losing battle, but we will see. And hopefully, I'll be coherent and not all loopy on Dayquil. But hey, it is what it is. So, hope you've had a good week. It's been a pretty quiet week for me. Busy with work, with a new website going live tomorrow, which will be awesome. And I don't think any of my channel audience demographics lines up with my work demographics, so it doesn't really matter to you guys. But it matters to me because it's what pays the bills and keeps me fed. And speaking of money, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I've had a couple videos that, funny enough, accidentally got quite a bit of traffic. The first one was, Evernote versus OneNote, and then there was also the one about Cloud Magic or Newton. And both of those are programs that have recently changed their pricing model. And in both cases, people were very unhappy. And the Evernote OneNote one, funny enough, I just recorded because I was actually switching myself. That's how all the videos I do about things are about things that affect me and my life. But that one kind of hit right at the time. I think I put it up like 3 or 4 days before they announced it, and so hey, it got popular, which is good, and I hope it's helped some people think, or help some people make their thoughts more thought-like, rational. But both of them garnered the same type of comments, both to me and on the internet in general, and that is, oh my gosh, people are trying to charge more money. This tool that used to be great now sucks. And I tried to address this in my, is Evernote still worth it video, but I think that it speaks to a broader thing that's going on, and a broader problem with our collective thinking, and that's, we don't like to spend money. That's not a problem. No one likes to spend money. The less money you spend, the more money you have that you can then spend on something else that's probably more useful, like food. But, not spending money is a good thing. But also, expecting to get great stuff for free is a rarity. Tools, and it's something that's happened really in the software era, where things can be practical and useful and have no physical component. Therefore, people can just spend their time making stuff and give it away. In a physical medium, that's a bit harder, because physical things have a price of materials and the labor for each one, whereas software, you have the labor for one, and then copies are free. But so the dynamics are weird, and we've gotten to the point where people expect things to cost very, very little, and it's hard for people to make their living making software and make good software when, we as a society, we as a culture aren't willing to pay for it. And it's the same problem that affects the news, great institutions like the New York Times and all those places and everywhere that makes content, that makes news, news particularly, is struggling to make money and is making less and less news, and they're making more, advertisements and blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about this before, but, it's hard. And so I want to say a little bit about how I spend my money. I have a budget, and I spend my money on all the things I have to spend my money on. My my rent, my food, my mortgage, my food, my clothes, my, the education costs for my children, my commuting costs, all those things that are things I must spend. And they're the bills that I have to pay every day. Then I have a category of like bills that I don't have to pay every day, but that I do. Things like Netflix, things like, Evernote, things like any of the software that falls into a subscription model. Those are called, so if the first one is utilities, things I have to have, then the other one is like things that I don't have to have, but I want to have, because they're useful. So I spend my money there. And then there's, of course, the final bucket, which is just money I want to spend because it's cool or it's fun, it's entertainment. That would be, books on on the Kindle or software games that I just, want to play because they're fun. And that's all, the discretionary spending that I can spend on whatever I want. And, and then, well, there's also the savings chunk, which actually I put in before. So it's like bills you have to pay, bills I want to pay, savings, and then all the fun stuff. And that's really how, sometimes the fun stuff I spend before the savings, but that's bad. You shouldn't do that because, savings are very important and you need to have those in case emergencies happen and when you retire and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not a financial planner and I'm not going to lecture, but everyone knows that's true. And I think everyone is also bad. Some are worse than others. Bad about doing that. And so, do it in that priority order. The things you have to do, the things that you might not have to, but they add value to you, savings, and then entertainment. Also I try my best, not always successful, but I try my best to never carry debt. I have a mortgage, I have a car loan. So those are debt that you almost have to have nowadays. Just because the price of those items is so expensive, you can't really pick it up in one go without incurring debt. But I keep it as short as possible. Like I have two cars, this one and the minivan, which you've seen, but only one loan. Because this car that I'm driving right now is 100% paid off. Like I own it, and it's great. Not having a loan for a vehicle is the best thing in the world because that's extra money that just goes straight to me. So yeah, that's the philosophy on that. But how then do you make the decision between the things you have to have or what goes into that things that I want to spend money on bucket? And these would be things like the Netflix, things like Netflix, that could be almost classified as entertainment because I don't really need it. Internet, especially because I get my television from I have Verizon Fios because I use them for my internet because symmetric speeds, upload and download the same, is great, especially when you upload big videos like I tend to do. But the bundle I got includes the TV with that at a better price, so I don't really need Netflix. That's it. It falls into that bucket. But how do you make that decision? Like, how do I decide what is, a utility that I must spend on, a utility that I just want because it's useful, and things that are purely for the joy of it? And it's not as easy a decision as you may necessarily think. But the metric I use is, how much do I use this thing? How much value does it add to me? And try to make the decision that way. So, for example, a note-taking client or a email client, I use email and I use digital documents, my notes, every single day of my life, both for work and for, my hobbies. I use those. I use the poop out of those utilities. So I put them higher in my priorities for what to spend on because, yes, I could use Gmail or yes, I could use whatever I want. There's tons of free clients, but since that is a utility, and I am not using this as an endorsement for Newton or Cloud Magic. I'm still undecided on that platform, by the way, but Airmail or whatever client you want to use if you have to pay for it, or, note, whatever it is, a to-do list, whatever, something you use every day. Since you use that every day, even if there's free options available, if a paid option works just a little bit better for you, it's worth it to spend that money, because those activities that you do every day, those are the activities that saving a couple seconds on is going to save more time in the future, over your entire year. Having a little bit more fun while you do it, having a little bit more joy, or a little bit less stress, a little bit less annoyance at the software we're using, when it's a piece of software you use every single day, translates to a huge return in your overall happiness and productivity and all of that. So some things you use all the time easily make the cut to be more important. And then, things that you use as you use them less frequently, they might not be as important. And this doesn't just apply to software. This applies to things like chairs, things like mattresses, things like desks, things like, your monitor, the things you use all the time. That's where I prioritize spending my money, because it pays back. It's just for me, that's so obvious, but it took me so long to think that way, because once I'm like, oh yeah, spend my money where, of course, that makes total sense. It didn't. It took a while for that to click. The next thing that I use is to things that I might not use all the time, but if I didn't have them, it's very, very, very bad. And that's where, or there's a huge consequence. And you can put things like insurance in that bucket, like when you're trying to decide what insurance plan you should buy, or which coverage for car insurance or that. It's things that you don't have to spend every day. You could live your life without them, but if you don't, the penalty is bad. If the one time you need it, you really need it. And whether that's a tool that, is only used on those rare cases, but there's no other way to get that thing done that you need to do, or insurance, or the way I use it a lot, backup software. I view my backup software as an absolute must-have utility, just like water and electricity. Like, it is that important. That's that bucket. So, and if you look at what those things have in common, it's all about, what is spending this money going to get me? It's either going to make my life better on a daily basis, or it's going to make my life much, much, much better on a day that hopefully will never happen. But it's all about, spending the money to do something for me, to get something good. And then, for entertainment, I tend to prioritize on how much fun I'm going to have with this thing. And like with a game or a book or a video, it's hard to tell. But, you can use the roughly, time spent. Because if it's a good game, and read your reviews and all that stuff, but if it's a good game, you're going to tend to get a lot more time spent of fun on a good game than you are going to go watching a movie in a theater. So I tend to spend my money on things and also on things that I can do longer. So we rarely go out to movies. Now, the fact that we have young kids may have something to do with that, so it's a lot harder to go to the movies. But also, it's that how much entertainment time am I getting for my dollar? So anyway, that's the thoughts that loosely thought. Like, I've never laid this out in a pure logical sense. I've never tried to make a, Matt Gribb's guide to spending your money. But at a very rough kind of stream of consciousness level, that's how I try to spend my money and how I try to prioritize. So hope that helps you think about your own life. And, I maybe if I can get through one of those haters who's like, oh my gosh, they changed the model on this piece of software, I can get through to one person to say, all right, so they want to charge me more money, but is it worth it to me? And to think about that instead of automatically saying, nope, it sucks. Just one, then this video will be worth it. So hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. Hopefully I will not be sick. Big news next week. Very cool stuff. Hope maybe you'll figure out what it is. Let me know if you do, or if you have any guesses. And if not, you'll find out next week. So, talk to you later. Enjoy. Bye.